We're going to take paragraphs 16 and 17 together in this video, and you'll see why here in a second. In fact, I'm going to start down here in paragraph 17. If you remember, when we launched the revisions back in July of 2022, it was the intent of those revisions to decouple the remediation limit from any cost of home inspection repairs. And we weren't real clear on that, to be honest with you. And what happened was a couple of things. We had been so hardwired over the years that paragraph 17 and the remediation limit covered not only title and walkthrough, but also covered those seller obligations, capping the seller's obligations under the inspection cost and home inspection removals of contingency and that sort of thing. And so it was confusing the way we had this revised form structured. And one of the points of confusion was this. We called in the revision, paragraph 16, the condition and inspections prior to settlement. That was the name of the paragraph. And we had the word inspections in there. And there was just some confusion. And we could have done a better job back then in clarifying that. So what we did here was we renamed paragraph 16 to call it the pre-occupancy and pre-settlement verification, because that's what we're doing. Otherwise known as the walkthrough, we're verifying that the condition of the property has not diminished in paragraph 16A since the most recent inspection, and in paragraph 16B since the property went under contract. And you'll see how we've addressed that here. Now remember that in paragraph 16A contemplates the purchaser having had professional inspections, and so the purpose of 16A is to allow for the purchaser to come back and verify that the work that the seller had agreed to have completed, that verify that work has been completed, and remember the purchaser can bring back their original inspections to this verification. Now you'll see here that we didn't totally get rid of it. We moved it. In paragraph 16A, we struck the conversation about material defects or material damage or changes necessitating repairs, and we moved it to another place, and you'll see why here in just a minute. You'll also see that this new language that's highlighted right here is just simply taking paragraph 16B and moving that language up. So the new paragraph 16B anticipates the purchaser not having any inspections. So this talks about that this provision contemplates there have been no inspections, but it also compels the seller to deliver the property in the same condition it was at the time of ratification of the contract. And you'll see here also that we took this language and we took it out of this provision, paragraph 16B, and then we created a new paragraph, and you'll see why here in just a minute. We created a new paragraph to talk about the condition of the property at this verification, and the purpose of that is if the material damage necessitating repairs is discovered, then the seller is obligated and capped at the remediation limit, or we've renamed that, you'll see here in a minute, in paragraph 17. So again, paragraph 16C has to do with making sure that everyone understands that if there have been material damage or changes necessitating repairs at this verification, the seller has some obligations there, and those obligations are outlined in paragraph 17. This paragraph 16D talks about access for not only the engineers and inspectors, but also folks that are authorized to be there for the pre-settlement verification. We talked again about having all the utilities in place for this verification, and then the condition of the property that the seller is obligated to deliver in a broom clean condition. We talk here about the seller's obligations in complying with this provision. If they do not comply, then it could result in a delayed settlement. And if you remember, when we had this conversation over in paragraph 14, it talked about if the seller didn't comply with the provisions, it could extend the inspection deadline. So now we are getting to paragraph number 17. And remember, paragraph 17 was intended in the revision back in July, but also we wanted to make sure that we were clear that paragraph 17 does not have anything to do with the repair addendum items. But it has to do with the new paragraph 16C. So what we felt like, to make this perfectly clear, we would refer to a specific paragraph. And remember, paragraph 16C has to do with any changes or material damage that necessitates repairs on the pre-settlement verification. So paragraph 17 only has to do with paragraph 16C and paragraph 29D, which is title. So if there are some defects in the title that's going to require repair, then the seller is capped at this number, whatever this number is here. Remember, if it's blank, then it defaults to $1,000. The other thing we did, and we kind of struggled on this, was to rename the remediation limit. We felt like that it just conjured up those things that we'd been so used to. So we tried coming up with some terminology that got us away from using the term remediation limit. And what we came up with, which was good, seller obligation limit, because that's exactly what it is. It's a limit to the seller's obligations to repair those walkthrough verification items, and then also repair the title if in fact it needs to be repaired. So we just renamed in paragraph 17, got away from remediation limit and renamed it to seller obligation limit. So that wraps up paragraph 16 and 17, and